Welcome back to Think America with Terry Gilberg.
All right, I want to switch gears now. Time for my interview portion of the program. I've invited a man, Seth Denson, who is a healthcare reform specialist and the president and co-founder of GDP Advisors, which is a health insurance strategy company. I'm interested in talking with him because of late, Amazon has quietly launched an exclusive line of over-the-counter health products. Now you say, well, what's wrong with that? Free market and all that. Well, yes, but it could really spark a price war and put pressure on the store brand profit margins. So let's say you go into a Walgreens, for example, all right? If Amazon is undercutting the Walgreens with their basic care line, then what happens to the middlemen and the profit margins of store brand products at our regular corner grocery store kind of idea store? All right. Seth Denson, welcome to the program. Nice to have you, sir. Glad you could make it.
Terry, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
You bet. Now, this is a really interesting topic, and there's a lot of ways to look at this. On the one hand, Amazon, which is the Amazon, they've quietly gotten into Whole Foods. They're now doing, that whole area in addition to all the clothing and all the books and everything. I mean, they own everything. Why are they doing this? Do they need the money of the over-the-counter health products so that they're launching this basic care? I mean, how much is enough?
Yeah, I don't know that Amazon's doing this necessarily for the potential profit, although, healthcare in general is more than a sixth of the U.S. economy, and of all market sectors, it is growing faster than any other sector. Matter of fact, we constantly are studying the healthcare market in general, and we've never seen more private equity money move into the healthcare sector than at any time in history. This is a high return on investment market right now. And financial firms, whether they are venture capitalists, private equity, or Jeff Bezos of the world, are looking at healthcare and saying the return on investment is so significant. This is a piece of the market that we want to tap into. So I said that at the beginning of saying I don't know that this is about profit, although, listen, I don't think Amazon does anything without the mind of profit. I do think, though, that based on the maneuvers that we've seen Amazon make over the last, we'll call it 6 months, and maybe even going back more than a year, I'm from Texas, and we always joke about the dog that gets the bone, right? And I think that healthcare is that bone for Jeff Bezos that he's got a hold of, and he is moving dramatically to try to shift the healthcare financial markets in any way he possibly can. And the reason I can substantiate that a bit is for those that didn't hear, about 3 weeks ago, Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett of Berkshire Hathaway and J.P. Morgan Chase made the announcement that they're going to get into healthcare, into providing access to healthcare through insurance, but only for their employees. Now, they were very vague about what that meant. But just on making that statement alone, within a week, over $30 billion was lost in the stock market on your largest publicly traded health insurance companies. And what's interesting enough about what they're not doing anything that many employers don't already do. Many employers in the United States self-fund their health insurance. And what Jeff Bezos and Berkshire Hathaway and J.P. Morgan have said is, hey, we're going to self-fund our health insurance, and we're going to try to change the way that our employees are accessing care, which is no different than many other companies do.
That's right.
Because of the power of their pulpit, they have the ability to shift the markets. And so, again, we're seeing step-by-step methodically moving where Amazon is saying we're getting into this space. And I think what they're doing with their employees is going to be a beta test on how to drive down healthcare costs from an insurance perspective. And what they're doing right now in the over-the-counter drugs space is a test to see, are people comfortable buying the drugs and receiving the drugs through our website? And if so, maybe we move behind the counter as well.
So all interesting. Let's talk a little bit about that last piece that you just said. Because what I am reading when Amazon launched, quote, basic care, I'm not reading into that, Seth, that it's an RX. It's acetaminophen, it's skincare for, an over-the-counter kind of for pimples. It is ibuprofen, it's cough syrup, it's shampoos. Is basic care also going to enlarge as you just said, into the RX for, a stomach bug or something that you would need to see a doctor for, but they're tiptoeing into this by way of Kleenex and shampoo and hair conditioner and hairspray, this basic care. Talk to us about what basic care really is.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right that what Amazon is doing right now is they are primarily focusing on what we call over-the-counter drugs, things that you don't need a prescription for, whether that's, as you mentioned, ibuprofen or acetaminophen or, those types
cough
of
syrup
drugs.
Kind of thing, yeah.
That's exactly right. Your standard stuff that you can walk into any pharmacy and or most grocery stores actually now and get. So that's what they're starting in. But, we're always, and I always think long term when I look at companies move into a market that they historically have not been into. And I'm always, I don't want to say concerned, but conscious of what we call the crawl, walk, run methodology. What I mean by that is companies that say, listen, we're gonna crawl into this a little bit, and we're going to test the waters. And if that goes well, maybe we'll walk before we ultimately get to a full sprint. And what we're seeing is a methodical movement in all areas of healthcare that Amazon is moving in. Whether it's and let's be clear about this: health insurance is just healthcare financing. That's all it is.
Correct.
And so what we're seeing Amazon do with their merger with Berkshire Hathaway, I shouldn't say merger, I should say the collaboration with Berkshire Hathaway and J.P. Morgan to change the financial aspect of accessing the healthcare system for their employees. And mind you, we're talking about 1.1 million employees between the three companies. So what they're doing there is they're dipping their toe into the financing mechanism. And then and also they're going to dip their toes into the access, right? So when you go to a traditional health insurer, whether that's a United Healthcare or a Blue Cross or Cigna or an Aetna or an Anthem, you're looking at that health insurance provider not only to help me finance my care, but also steer me to where I need to go to access that care. And so I think Amazon's doing that. What they're doing in the over-the-counter drug space could lead potentially to the prescription drug space. And actually for years, Amazon has sold a number of healthcare-related products on their website. And I'm talking like gauze and bandages and walkers and wheelchairs. These things have been available on their website for years now. And so this is a natural progression. Specifically around prescription drugs, though, as you mentioned, hey, this is dipping the toe. What is the next phase? 85% of all prescription drugs that are prescribed by a doctor that must be filled by a pharmacist, 85% of all drugs in the United States that are filled are distributed by three companies. Three companies own 85% of the market.
I did not know that.
And two of those companies are owned by insurance companies. So it's interesting as we start to see, as we see the healthcare markets expand, those in control of the healthcare markets are actually reducing. They're buying each other up. Aetna came out and CVS came out about a month ago saying that CVS was going to acquire Aetna. Well, CVS is one of the three largest distributors of drugs.
Sure.
Aetna is one of the four largest insurers in the country, and now they are merging. We're seeing in most of your major markets, hospital systems buy up primary care facilities.
So,
why are they doing that? Well, they're doing it because that's their sales force. There's an 8-to-1 return on investment ratio of a hospital system buying a primary care doctor.
So this might be Bezos's attack to that. CVS links arms and buys up Aetna. Bezos comes in, puts his big toe in the basic care with the idea of taking it over at some point so that they control the insurance market. And then, of course, naturally, you'll buy your RXs also at Amazon. Is that, would you say it's simplistic, but is that kind of the thinking?
I think to get into Jeff Bezos' mind is a tall task, but I think that is what I can perceive as somebody who is a study of this industry. He's making all all the moves. Think of it like a chessboard, right?
Because I must say, I was rather perplexed when Whole Foods then is now owned by Amazon. I thought, what the heck? He's going to get into broccoli and fresh produce. You know, guacamole I get, but just the avocado itself, you can't deliver it fast enough. But maybe he just wanted to own it and not do anything with it for a while. Who knows? You're a great interview, Seth. We need to leave it there. Seth Denson, president and co-founder of GDP Advisors. Do you have a quick website people can find you, Seth? Go ahead and give it.
Yes, gdpadvisors.com. You can also follow me at Seth Denson on Twitter, and we post things regularly.
Thank you. I hope you come back in another edition of Think America. We'll do another segment with you.
Thank you for having me on.
You bet. Thank you for your good intel on all this.